You're all sitting in a different place this morning with somebody who is different than the first day. Sometimes we don't acknowledge that. Sometimes we go into classrooms and we all sit in the same group of people again and again and again. And one thing I really would like to encourage educators, people in workplaces, to really encourage people to sit with someone they haven't sat with before. Because how can we hope for a better world if we stay in our same neighborhoods? And so, before we begin, I would like to give you an opportunity to first check in with each other. How you're doing today. Can you hear that? How are you doing today? Now, so oftentimes, most instructors want to just get started. Let's get to work. Because we haven't got very much time. But the truth of it really is how you're affected by what happened to you last night. Lack of sleep, having to travel from Tel Aviv, or getting caught in traffic. So imagine today as we begin that someone asks you, how are you? And maybe follow it up with the next question is, how are you really feeling?
So, I'm doing pretty well. I'm like,
oh, do I answer the question?
How are you doing?
I'm terrified. I am terrified today.
I feel confused.
How am I really feeling? Feeling tired.
I have a situation where I'm going to have to broaden my circle of trust.
I had an idea.
I am terrified of doing that.
I could sleep.
There are 3 other people from my college
Because it was
here.
cold.
Last night.
So now that you've had a chance to check in with each other, so I want you to imagine what would that be like in your classroom where students got a chance to check in before they began the class. What was it like for you? Anyone? Yes.
We felt like we understood each other, John and I. And it was funny because we were both feeling very similarly.
Which was?
We were both still nervous, but we were both, John said at first that he has a lot of things to say, but he doesn't want to misrepresent himself. And that's what I've been very afraid of. And John said, there's a lot of people counting on him.
But that's quite a profound thing that you said, isn't it? To know that so many people are counting on you. Who are those people, John?
Being here, I represent not only myself, but my race. And so I think there's a lot of people that want to say something that can't. There's a lot of people that won't say anything, So, because I see a lot of fear in people. They don't want to, it's there, but they don't speak out. And so there's a lot of pressure there to try to not misrepresent, because I don't want to be too angry or too other things.
So there's a lot of what he said there, isn't it? Where did he get that message that if he were to get angry, that it would be reflective of his ethnicity, of being an African-American male? See the double standards, the tension he has to go, don't be too soft, don't be too angry. Imagine the tension that he goes through. How many of you notice that each time when John gets ready to talk, he hesitates for a moment? Like he's thinking, how am I going to do this?
Well, I think while I talk, like people think before, some think don't.
Right.
But I think while I talk, and so it's kind of weird. Things keep popping into my head. I'm like, okay, let me say this then.
So one moment he's thinking about what he's feeling, one moment he's watching what you're thinking of him, thinking about all the people who've gone through it, people who've gotten hurt when they've said the truth, people who have told the truth, people who hold themselves in. Imagine all that tension that he carries in here today. And once again, we talked about yesterday is, what's it like for an African-American man with the highest blood pressure? No wonder, huh? Carrying. And how many others of you how many of you know what John is talking about? Because that's true for you. Raise your hand.
I go to Maricosta College, and so for a black person, I see a lot of black people on the first 3 weeks, but after those first 3 weeks, nowhere. And so, the number one thing that we get, I talk to a lot of the African-American faculty there, is like they tell us, the number one problem that they have with being on my campus is that they say there's no community. Nobody cares about them. Nobody cares if they're there or not. And so you don't want to be where you're not wanted, so you go.
So I want you to think about, as he said this, is what would it be like to be in a classroom where your students, your fellow students cared that you weren't there? Imagine what it would be like if your professor cared that you were missing. Or when my mother was murdered in 1985 while I was in a counseling class, only one professor of all of my classes who found out called me at home. Only one actually even wanted to know how I was doing. To notice somebody is missing, or maybe more apt, someone has died in the middle of the room. Or as one man said it, you know, I'm a lifer. And I said, what's a lifer? And he said, they got my body, but not much else. And I said, what happened? He said, well, you know, I was told that if I got a bachelor's degree, I'd get to be able to go in the training program. And then he turned to his manager and said, I did get my bachelor's, and it's been 6 months. And then he yelled out, I really don't care anymore. I really don't care, he said. And then I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, do you say that so he'll never hurt you again? You go inside so they won't hurt you again. Or you give this blank look. You just kind of go in your own little world. And that's the cost, isn't it? You could find that all out if you did something like this. Where did they go? Where did you go? Where have you gone?
I want to say something. So I was telling Joe how I was feeling, and when I finished, he looked into my eyes and he said, no, Vera, really, how do you feel? And I was like, I opened up more, and I just thought about all the times that I wished somebody would ask me that at school. You know, I'm coming from a war zone. There's something terrible every day going on with somebody I know. It's either friends or family, and things happen on a daily basis, and sometimes I cannot reach people there, and I carry that on my chest, and I go to the classroom and nobody cares and nobody would ask, and I would swallow my words and just go home disappointed day after day. So when he just said, no, Vera, like really, how do you feel? Like deep inside, like, whoa. I wish this will happen on a daily basis with somebody.
What would happen if you told people the truth?
I just mentioned that I would pick my words like carefully because I don't want to overwhelm people, because I think people, they're self-centered. You know, people care about their own problems, and the last thing they want to hear is about problems across, like overseas, in the Middle East. Like, who would care about that? I don't want to explain the whole conflict and how racist the place and how dangerous the place is. And at the same time, I want them to know, to understand, to feel a little bit, because it's too much to deal with it on my own.
I want to think about it on a larger picture, that imagining that 9/11 happens, the LA riots, the Arizona law passes, the mosque situation. And imagine what that must feel like as you come in to school and to your classes and someone says, let's just get to work. And at one moment, all of the feelings that are coming up for you.